What is up, everybody? Monday Night Football is in the wraps. Week 4 is concluded. Lions move to 3-1. Titans get their first win of the season. All of that in this video to come. But first, like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let's talk football, baby. But let's not waste any more time. Let's jump on into it. We talked last week. Not a big fan of the Monday night double headers. Not going to complain. 2 games of football, whatever. Sometimes I like being a little bit religious with my Monday night game. You know, you rush off of work, you get home, you put it on. It's the only thing, you're locked in. Sometimes the ADD kicks in a little bit with 2 games. You don't know what one to do. You got FOMO. Like, I don't want to miss out on the Titans and Dolphins, but Lions and Seahawks is a better game. Let's just touch on the Titans and Dolphins game. Really not much to talk about in this one. We all kind of expected this one to be lackluster, and even though the Titans put up 31 points, it wasn't that entertaining. Big news really from the game, Will Levis, which I'm surprised that the Titans didn't challenge this call. Dives for a first down, seems to injure his shoulder. Looked like he was ready to go back in. But after throwing a pick on the first drive right to the defender, a defensive lineman at that caught it with his legs. Nice catch. Brian Callahan was like, nah, man, you're going to sit the rest of this game. We're going to ride Mason Rudolph. He just brought us down and kicked a field goal. Guess what he didn't do? Didn't throw an interception. We're going to see what he's got. So now you go into your bye week. Seems like there might be a quarterback competition. I would still lean Will Levis because I don't think you should give up on this guy. Yes, he's thrown a lot of interceptions and has some terrible turnovers. But going into the draft 2 years ago, there was serious consideration that this guy was going to be a first-round pick. And he fell to the second round. His character and cockiness seemed to turn a lot of GMs off. But character and cockiness ain't got nothing to do with talent. So he's got the skill. He's got the arm. He just needs to get out of his own way. And I think we're overly critical on a guy like this because, you know how in TV shows you just dislike that cocky asshole? Well, Will Levis is kind of that. And personally, I like to root for it. Me, myself, not a douchebag. But it's kind of fun watching him succeed. I mean, when Conor McGregor in the UFC was at his peak of his cockiness, it was the best thing that ever happened for the UFC. Not saying that they're on the same equivalency, but Will Levis has got some tools. He's got some gifts, and he's only in his 14th start as an NFL quarterback. And really last year, they didn't have anything on offense that would make you think that he got a fair shot. This year, you go out, you get Tony Pollard. You draft J.C. Latham. You sign Calvin Ridley. You know, you got D-Hop and you got Treylon Burks. You already had Ty G. Spears. You got a solid offensive line on the left side with Peter Skoronski. I wouldn't give up on him. I'd give him at least to 3/4 of the season. Because some guys are late bloomers. And if he starts to slow the game down a little bit and get out of his own way, there might be something there. And what have you got to lose? You're going to start Mason Rudolph for the rest of the year? It doesn't make any sense. Even if this guy is throwing pick sixes, you're not going to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph. And maybe you don't want to lose the locker room, but I bet you these guys think the same thing. Like, Will, stop throwing interceptions. We know you're good. Just let it ride. You might have something. And if you don't, then guess what? You figure it out in the offseason. Because you'll probably have a high draft pick if it doesn't work out. And if it does, now you're going into year 3 of a quarterback that you feel confident about to take the next step. The risk versus reward here is just so much more reward versus the risk. Dolphins, there's not much to talk about. I feel bad for you guys. What the real shame is that your defense kind of looks pretty good. Jalen Ramsey's flying around. Javon Holland is a stud safety. You got a couple good edge rushers. But it's all for moot. Your offense can't do a damn thing. And that's to be expected when you're rolling out Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley. It just sucks. Nothing worse than injuries, not only for the player's health, but when you have high expectations coming into the season, which the Dolphins did, and it was a real prove-it year for them. You lose Tua for probably a majority of the season, which he looks like he still wants to play. He's very involved with the team, going to every game, at every practice. And listen, let's not chime in on, well, Tua should play or Tua should retire. Listen, this is his decision to make. Nobody else's. Not the coaches, not the doctors, not the media, not the fans. This is for Tua Tagovailoa's family and himself to make the decision that they feel is best for their life. And whatever decision he makes, you got to feel like he's got the best input from the best doctors, whether they're related to sports or not. I'm sure he's seeing a multitude of brain doctors. Let him make his decision. But for the time now, he's not playing. And this offense is anemic. I mean, you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which I think the frustrating part for Dolphins fans is that when you got players like those two, and then Devon Achane and Jalen Wright, who you drafted out of Tennessee, Raheem Mostert hasn't played, but I mean, you got 3 running backs there that would start on pretty much every team, if not get playing time. And then you got 2 receivers that would definitely start on every team. Please trade one to the Patriots. I know defenses can sit underneath and just try to nip those routes in the butt. But eventually, after some point, hitting those underneath routes, you're going to break something. Then you're also going to open up something deeper. And at that point, just put it on the guy. I mean, Tyreek Hill was wide open a couple times tonight. Overthrow and an underthrow. And you can tell he's frustrated. And I get it. I'd be frustrated too. People say, should you trade Tyreek Hill? I think it's a little early for that. You know, your season's not over. Say if Tua comes back in 2 weeks. Say you can squeak out one more win. You play the Patriots next week. We know how they are. So say you can go into that 2-4. Is it inconceivable that you could go 6-2? I mean, that's definitely asking a lot, but it's not inconceivable. So I wouldn't make any drastic moves yet. Listen, you're tied into these contracts for a few more years anyways. It's a different story if Tua decides to retire, then just clean house and start over. Or trade Jalen Phillips and, you know, a pick and maybe another player from Michael Penix. See if you could get that. I don't know if that would go through, but worth a shot. Outside of that, in that situation, yeah, clean house. But yeah, Titans win 31-12. Finally, there are 0 winless teams in the NFL. Shout out Titans. Now to the second of the Monday Night Football doubleheaders, Seahawks and Lions, and this game was pretty fun. Lions had a commanding lead for most of the game, but it was exciting. Jared Goff, perfect, 18 for 18. And we're not talking 140 yards, 260 yards with a touchdown. 2 touchdowns. When this team is humming, it's hard to imagine there's a better offense in the league. They got the best offensive line. Their two running backs are just a classic case of we're going to pound you and then we're going to juke you. And we're going to do it over and over and over and over again. And the second you get tough and stuff the run in the middle, we're going to give it to Jahmyr Gibbs and we're going to bounce it outside and we're going to burn you. That's just the running game. Then you factor in, you got Sam Laporta, who's the next Travis Kelce at tight end, only in his second year. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is the best slot receiver in the NFL, catches everything. And now Jamison Williams has continued his ascension, caught a crossing route and went 70 yards untouched for a score. Jared Goff got so much flack when he got to Detroit. He's washed. He's only 2 years removed from a Super Bowl appearance. He's no good. He's a statue in the pocket. The league's going a different way. Well, guess where the league's starting to go back to? Playing under center, pounding the rock, and hitting play action off of that. And Jared Goff is electric and so deadly playing play action football. And we saw it tonight. When he turns his back to the defense, which if you have a good running game, these are layups for these guys. There's not many I think Kirk Cousins is probably the closest one. Jared Goff is so elite at when he turns his back to the defense, planting his foot and drilling a seed over the middle for a 20-yard gain. And we saw it countless times tonight against the Seahawks defense that, yes, it did get gashed, but dealing with a lot of injuries. But Jared Goff was just on it. And if this team is on it, I mean, they went all the way to the NFC Championship and had it within their grasp to go to the Super Bowl last year. 3-1. You dropped the game to the Bucs. But listen, if you go 3-1 through the first quarter of the season, if you times that by 4, you're looking at a 12-4 season. Then we'll just give you the extra win because you're the Lions and you're a pretty good team. You're looking at a 13-4 season. You'll take that every freaking year. The defense is a little worrisome. You know, you got good pieces on the line with Ozarike and Alan McNeil. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson in the race so far for Defensive Player of the Year. Then your linebacking core, Anzalone and Jack Campbell. 2 white guys that just look country fed and like to hit. But your secondary is a little bit worrisome. You did address it in the offseason. You signed Carlton Davis. You know, you draft Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. And, you know, we're only through 4 games. So with these rookies, you're still adapting to the speed a little bit. Terrion Arnold's been holding a lot. You got to get that under wraps. So there's some pieces in your secondary to like. You got to clean some things up. It's not like last year where you felt like it was a lost cause. You could see this team in the later stages of the year start to really clamp down. So you just got to continue that progression. The coaches are great there. You got to have faith that they're gonna. Lions squad coming in. Super Bowl contenders. They've showed us every bit of that. They win a tough grudge match against the Rams Sunday night week 1. You know, they get it taken to by the Bucs. But we've seen that the Bucs are a legit team. Obviously, Monday night this week, you pretty much dominated the Seahawks. And you're 3-1. And you beat the Cardinals last week. And the game wasn't that close, even though it was only 20-13. You could tell the Lions are a way more physical ball club. So you got to love how you started the season if you're a Lions fan. And that goes for the Seahawks as well. You go into this game 3-0, everybody talking about, myself included, who have you really played? You beat the Patriots. You beat the Broncos in Bo Nix's first start. I'm forgetting who they played last week, but As you can tell, probably not that big of a game. This was your first real test. And I wouldn't say you failed the test, even though you lost the game. Your defense was severely injured. And the Lions have shown that not only their home field advantage, but when they play prime time at home, they get some sort of superpower. It's like the Silver Surfer. When he's on his board, he's invincible. That's how the Lions are at home on Monday night or Sunday night. They're invincible in those primetime games. You got to take the Silver Surfer off the board. You can't let the Lions get home field advantage because that's a tough road. But Seahawks, you got to like what you got. You got a lot of young pieces on defense that you really feel good about. Boye Mafe, who didn't play, but Byron Murphy didn't play. You got two corners with Woolen and Witherspoon. Julian Love left the game with a thigh injury. He's kind of your chess piece on the board, your queen, so to speak. Kind of move him around everywhere. But on offense, you got DK, you got Tyler, you got Njigba, Kenneth Walker, who's an absolute stud, Charbonnet to kind of save his legs a little bit, a decent offensive line, and Geno Smith. You know, he had that great Pro Bowl year a couple years ago. Give him the contract extension. They wrote me off, but I ain't right back. Has a slower year last year. Kind of underwhelming. And the real question, obviously, is how far can this team go with Geno Smith as the quarterback? But if he plays like tonight, I feel pretty confident that this team could make a pretty decent playoff push. Because he's shown that he's not just some veteran quarterback that you're going to start because you don't have a young option that you feel good about. This dude is more than competent at the quarterback position. I mean, he put up 350 yards tonight against the Lions at home. Putting up 350 yards isn't easy in general in the NFL, let alone against a team we just mentioned is dominant at home. So you got to feel pretty good. You know, you got to win the easy games, so to speak, in the NFL. We all know there's no gimmies like in college football. But when you're going up against a team like the Patriots that played you hard, but you just figured out a way to block a field goal and to force the 3-and-out to go down and kick a game-winning field goal. You got to take those games because now you've set yourself up in a division that nobody's pulled away yet. You're the front runner through a quarter of the season. 3-1. You're going to lose some of these tough games because, you know, you're going to win some of them as well. But consistently, you're probably not going to win these games against the Lions. You know, against the Ravens if you play them. You know, if you play the Chiefs, you know, kind of thinking about it, who is the top dog in the NFC so far this year? I mean, the Lions, obviously, the Vikings. I could see you guys going toe-to-toe with the Vikings, though. The book is still out on them, even though they're 4-0. So you got to feel good about where you are in the picture of the NFC. You're atop of the NFC West. And you got a stud young head coach, and you got pieces everywhere. And Geno Smith has just shown to be more than serviceable. He'd start on a lot of teams. So both teams 3-1. Quarter of the season in wraps. Guys, check out the video coming out later in this week on Wednesday. What's News Wednesday? We're going to come up with a little itinerary. And we're just going to talk football, baby. That's what we love to do. Football is the greatest sport on the world, and nobody could tell me different. So, hope you enjoyed Monday Night Football, guys. Have a safe week. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. Peace out.